go. I want to go, I have to go. Sweet Dick. A Whittington done. Excuse me. Always before, gentlemen, before you do a Gothic novel, you go, on my count of three. 1, 2, 3. Okay, we're all set to go with our Gothic novel for today. Entitled, My Old Kentucky Home. The time was 1867, post-Civil War. Kentucky, of course, had fought on the side of the Confederates and had lost. Not only lost the Civil War, but people who fought in that war and those who remained at home lost everything. Antebellum South, you can see it in your minds. The old plantation, formerly known as Tara, now known as Tira, burned down, nothing more than a charred hulk. In the background, we can hear the old slave, the one who remained on the plantation grounds, Alan Baki, singing, I hear them gentle voices calling. Doctor, inside the house, Becky Lee. Becky Lee, who had for the most part been faithful to her lover that she was going to marry once the South had won the war. Becky Lee waited for Colonel John to return from the North, where he'd been held prisoner for the last 3 years. Becky looked out what was once a window up to the sky and seemed to hear a voice from above.
Becky Lee! Becky Lee! Colonel John! Oh my gosh, you're home! Alan Bucky, get out of the room. Here comes Colonel John. And with one breath, she bounded out of the house and dead.
But Colonel John was pondering something more important than the mint julep he might be drinking later, something that could prove harmful to what he thought was the pure chasteness of Becky Lee. Because Colonel John knew that the only pure hillbilly girl was one who was younger than 11 years old, or a girl who could run faster than her brothers. Becky Lee, meanwhile, was gearing up for the 1984 Olympics to be held in Pacoima.
Well, it was time for Joe Bob Ray to show up on the scene. But while he was en route, Jimmy Jack Joe was already there, courting little Becky Lee like she's never been courted before. In fact, they played a game of half-court basketball. But during the game, Colonel John came up with his bodyguard, Steve Ed Dick, who promptly took the ball away from Jimmy Jack Joe and punctured it. Then, with a sinister grin on his hairy, sweaty, pimply face, he said to Becky Lee, Becky, my dear, now let Jimmy Jack Joe try to score.
However, I got into a southern accent there. However, Colonel John had horrible things happening to him during the war. And one of the horrible things was he had lost a leg. But he really didn't care about that at the moment. He said to Becky Lee as he ascended the steps, Becky Lee, I is here and I don't give a damn. And so as Colonel John looked at his lover standing on the stairs of the mansion, standing there in her beautiful chiffon flowing dress, Colonel John wearing his red badge of cowardice, asked the important question to Becky Lee, Becky, who is buried in Grant's tomb?
Well, try as he might,
Colonel John simply could not understand Becky Lee's hesitancy at going away together for a weekend in the Catskills. Becky Lee, he said, there is no need to fear for your reputation, since you have none. Hurt, mortified, and outraged, Becky Lee drew out a letter opener from her loosely fitted blouse. She slashed wildly at Colonel John's kneecaps.
When suddenly into the room came Barry White, who recently had a Mexican transplant. 2 burritos with hot sauce. Well, at first, Becky Lee did not recognize Barry until he opened his mouth and said,
Don't deny me of the things that I want.
The end. The Gothic novel for today, My Old Kentucky Home. The week of June 25, Supreme Court 4, Alan Bakke 5. The continuous wedding of Princess Caroline. David Beagleman gets probation and fine by his own employees. Governor Brown gets booze. First Polish astronaut on Russian Soyuz. City workers pay freeze. State budget tight squeeze. I've lost a friend. Ms. Pamela and men, please. A few lines as signs of a week practically no more. Let's score some clean thoughts on a dirty wall.
Hi, this is Alan Bakke. I've changed my mind about being a doctor because of the Supreme Court decision. I think I want to be a lawyer.
Hi, this is the Reverend Jesse Jackson saying to the Supreme Court, if you're ever in Watts, Chicago, St. Louis, Detroit, or Harlem, don't get sick.
This is Ed Zeal in Washington, standing with Richard Nixon in front of the Watergate Apartments. Mr. Nixon, at this moment, how do you feel?
I'm delighted to be here again, and I remember that the last time I was here was the 1973 opening day, and I hope it's a good omen.
Hi, this is Mrs. Alan Bakke. The Supreme Court voted 5-4 that I am. Alan doesn't really need a medical degree. He already has the hands of a chiropractor. He gives such great backy rubs.
Hi, this is ex-Columbia Pictures president David Beagleman. I think the court was too hard on me. A $5,000 fine and 5 years at UC Davis Medical School?
Hi, this is Peter Marshall, and welcome to Hollywood Squares. Our first question, Howard Jarvis, is, if a hooker propositioned one of America's founding fathers who wrote the Constitution, what would that be called?
Constitutional proposition.
Do you agree, Paul Lind?
Yes, because under the Second Amendment, she would have the right to bear arms, legs, bottoms, and her bosom.
Jimmy Carter?
I thought the response was very disappointing.
Oh, shoot.
Is it true that I can order a hamburger any way I want it, Mr. Burger King?
Only at the Burger King do we give you hamburgers the way you want them.
Okay, I want a Warren burger, baked.
That's Bakke.
Not for this bit, it isn't.
I'm sorry, son, but we've already filled our quota of Warren burgers. If you really want one, I'd suggest you go to Burger Chief with either a Supreme Court decision or a note from your doctor.
Oh, yes. This is Muhammad Ali. Does the Supreme Court decision mean that once again I have to sit in the back of the bus?
Hi, this is Gene Autry. I'm Bakke in the saddle again.